Well, welcome to another edition, of course, of My Life in Football, and real pleasure. And got to meet my next guest, of course, at the Summer League Awards do up in Warwickshire not so long ago. And it's great to have him on the show with us today. And we call him, I suppose we'll have to call him the man with many hats. But I'm going to introduce him by his first name, and he's going to let you know what his second name is because it's a lot easier for him to say it than it is for me to say it. So welcome to Louis from Bracknell Town.
So my second name is Steinborn-BUSSE, but as you can see from what I'm wearing here, I just say Louis SB. It stops any mispronunciation. It stops people having to waffle on for a year.
Well, I wish I'd have known that a few weeks ago. But anyway, that's so Louis, I mean, you see these. I mean, I like to sort of start off really to sort of start at where we are now, and then we'll go back to where you first got involved in football, full stop. But I mean, Bracknell now, we just had a sort of a brief chat off air, and around, just about to relay their 3G surface. I think you're in the process of almost finishing it now, and I mean, what's that like? Is that a bit of a concern when you see other sides that have probably relayed it previously and it's gone a little bit wrong?
Yeah, I mean, the 3G we're having put down now is actually a bit different to other 3Gs. I think it's the first 3G of that type in the country at the minute. And as you've seen, there can be a few things that go wrong with the 3Gs. Certainly when clubs have them done off season, expect them to be finished by the start of the season. And due to weather and other circumstances, they don't get done till about 4 games in, which was one of our biggest concerns this year, really, changing from the grass to a 3G surface. So what's gone into the pitch at the minute is we've had to basically use all of gravel and build the layers up to create a flat surface. You've then got to put a membrane. You've then got to put some sheeting, which is a shock pad underneath, and then lay your pitch. And it's so intricate. There's so many steps to it. You've got to get it from Finland to the Netherlands and then into the UK. And just earlier on the week, we had a delay where one of the rolls had fallen into the side of the lorry, so they had to go and reload it. But that took 3 days for them to be able to do it. So you don't know in terms of time and also weather and other things that can go wrong.
And I suppose we'll come into Bracknell last season a little bit later on because it was a really exciting season for you last year. Just came up a little bit short. But I mean, how did Louis sort of get involved in football in the first place? It's always like to start at the beginning and with some funny stories, etc., etc. But I mean, how did you? Where was it that you got involved in this crazy world of football?
So I've been playing since I was 6 years old. I started at a club locally in Bracknell called Crusader Knights. It was the B team. And I kind of started there as a goalkeeper. Realised didn't really like being in goal when I was a youngster. So I went up front and played for a few teams locally, Bracknell intermittently, mainly with my friends at a team called FC Bracknell. And then when I got to about 16, I came and played for the Allied team here, and just kind of stayed really involved with the club. But kind of in between that, I was in and around watching my granddad manage and lots of different things, whether that be helping out and volunteering or playing, which at 18 years old I decided I wasn't good enough to continue playing at a level. So I stopped and really just become more involved with the behind the scenes and the running of the club, which I absolutely love and enjoy.
Did you play for sort of school team and stuff like that?
Yeah, I played for the school team. My playing history is a bit here, there, and everywhere. So I started off as a goalie when I was younger, went to be a striker, played okay up front, and about 13 years old, I just didn't have any pace. I don't know. Usually it's but you reach 30 and you lose your pace. I reached 13 and I lost it, and I ended up going from striker to a centre forward to a central midfielder. Done a bit of left back and right back, and I'm actually now a goalkeeper again. So, so I've kind of done full circle, and I'm currently playing Sundays with a team called Ashridge Park over in Wokingham.
I mean, what's that like though? When you first sort of start, playing out. I've been playing out, so playing for a side and all the rest of it. I mean, any play with anybody that later became sort of good mates? Did you start learning to, was the football more of a part of your? That's the word I'm trying to look for. Was it with mates that you sort of went to join that football team in the first place?
So I think it was just my granddad is a avid football fan in his 70s, and he's been involved with Bracknell for many years. And I was always going to be involved in football, but I think he pushed me and my dad pushed me to get involved with my first club. I can't remember being too like loving it too much at 6 years old. You know, when I was first playing, I think my first game I conceded the goal, and I spent half the time crying for conceding the goal. But but then from then, I just started to love it more and more, and got more involved, become friends with lots of people. And you know, football, you play in a couple of teams, you meet a few people, and you end up knowing loads of people in an area.
I mean, so when was, you know, you speak about your grandfather and your dad. I mean, when was the sort of first time that you sort of walked through the hallowed doors at Bracknell?
So when I was not about 9 years old, my granddad became manager of Bracknell. He was managing Binfield, our local club nearby, for a few years before that, kind of at step 6 and step 5. And then I got into Bracknell, helping out with him. We did not have a budget at all. The club was falling apart. And subsequently, that is when my dad became involved. When I was about, I think I was begging him to get involved for about 3 or 4 years, because we'd gone from step 4, I believe, to the brink of step 6. And we unfortunately got relegated to step 6 of the football pyramid around about when I was 11 or 12 years old, going into senior school. And the club was in quite a little bit of financial trouble, breweries that they couldn't afford to pay, and also lots of different loans and things that are involved. And he came in and realised the potential of the site that we sat on, and managed to get involved more and more, to the point where he became chairman when I was about 15 or 16 years old. And that's when he started building on the site that was, I think, last built on probably in about 1960. So it was quite dilapidated and had been had lots of changes to it. So that's kind of really my story from becoming involved till about 16 years old, at the club.
So what do you remember going to your first Bracknell game? You know, maybe with your granddad.
So we didn't actually have any budget at about 11 years old, and I always joke around with my granddad, and that was the biggest Bracknell loss that I ever saw. So we lost, I think, some people that might watch this might correct me, but I believe we lost 11-1 to Oxford City Nomads, who are actually disbanded now. They were the sort of under 21s team to Oxford City. Mm-hmm. And that was about 13 years ago, and we lost 9-1 to Flagwell Heath. We did get battered a few times that season.
I mean, and you still wanted to go back?
It was me and about 14 other people that used to watch us up here, and I don't know what it was. It was kind of a bit of a special draw to the club. It was kind of a hometown club, and I don't know. It's just fun place. I really enjoy being around it. Even when it was 14 people, man and their dog, watching it on the sidelines in December, when it was horrible and no one else wanted to watch.
So I mean, with that, any sort of games that stick into your mind in the early days?
Positive ones. When we started, when my dad got a bit more involved, the club started picking up. We got promotion from step 6 to step 5 just before he came on board as chairman. Then in our step 5 season, we missed out on promotion the first year, but we started to get local people involved again. Really building from what was sort of built in the 1990s era. We had Mark Tallentire come on as manager, who was over at Binfield. He brought a good squad with him, all local players. And then we started to win games, whereas previously would have lost them. And the game that sticks out in my mind, a couple of games really, teams like Flackwell Heath, Thatcham, they were massive teams in and around that level at that time. And previously would have got thumped by them. And we played up here when we just had the 3G laid, and I think we scored a last-minute winner. One of our players, George Short, scored it. He was probably injured about 75% of the season. He scored and we won the game, and that's what I remember.
But I mean, going on there, how did it sort of start turning? You can see the ball, behind the back here, like 2016, 17 seemed to be quite a
Yeah.
successful year. But I mean, so when did you manage to get back out into sort of step 5 and then into step 4? And of course, where you are step 3 at the minute?
So we got promoted from step 5 in 20. I'm just looking at a board over here, actually. 2017-18 season, we came runners up and we won the Hellenic League Challenge Cup. Alongside promotion, we lost to Thatcham on goal difference on the last day of the season, and they obviously went on to win the FA Vars that year as well, in a great season for them. But we beat them in one final, so we'll take that. And then the next season was our first season at step 4. We unfortunately lost in the playoff final to Cheshunt. I think we did actually get.
I remember that season. That was only a couple of years ago, wasn't it?
That was 2018-19. We lost in the playoff final.
That long ago?
Yeah, 2018-19. I'm looking at the board here, and yes, 2018-19 was our first season. Then 2019-20 was cut short due to COVID, and we was in. I think we was doing okay. But we'd changed managers that season. So it was in the top half, but I don't think we was really going to get promoted.
And this was all in the Isthmian League then, wasn't it?
This was in the Isthmian League, yeah. So it was in Isthmian. And then we played another season which got stopped due to COVID. And then it was the 21-22, I believe. Yeah, 21-22. And we won promotion from the Isthmian South Central Division to...
Jigsaw League, as we used to call it.
Yeah. So we won that. We won promotion to step 3 that year, and we blew. It was so good all season. Like togetherness around the squad, and the squad we had was really great. And
I mean, Louis, what is it like? Because it's interesting. It's happened to people like AFC Sudbury this year as well. When you sort of win that league and you're looking at it and you're thinking to yourself, right, look, we've just won step 4. The Isthmian South Central. We've won that, right? Great. Let's look forward to this. Right, great. We're going to go up against the teams like Hornchurch and Enfield, Potters Bar and Bognor Regis and Carshalton, and the list goes on. And then all of a sudden, the fixtures, so the leagues come out, and you've been shifted completely out of the Isthmian League into the Southern League. So what is that like? Because sometimes people say to me, "Yeah, great," but the problem is I've got a squad of 18 players from last year that can play in the Isthmian Prem, but can't necessarily play in the Southern Southern
Central.
Yeah, so it's very, very difficult because they don't want to travel. Instead of going maybe that way, they're going this way instead. So I mean, what was that like?
So the first incidents that come about with us was when we went from step 5 into step 4, because of our geographical location. We could have been placed in the Southern League Southwest, or the Isthmian League, and I think some of the players, the travel was quite substantial in that league, and I think like Barnstaple, is it Barnstaple, and a few other clubs down that way, and obviously Mousehole this year in that league, and I can't imagine a step 4 club doing that journey from our location.
I've done that trip from here just because we were going away on holiday. It took 6 hours where I am, and I'm not too far from you, and it took nearly 11 hours to get back. And I know speaking to the guys down there, it's 8,000 miles round trip they've got to do this year. 8,000 miles.
We probably clock up. We clock up a lot of miles, but nothing on that. I mean, we like teams like Truro and Plymouth. I mean, especially Truro already traveling to Plymouth. Going back to kind of off topic a little bit, but we had Truro on a few occasions last year which were called off, and we ended up having to go there on the Tuesday night, and then we also had to go back down there to play Plymouth on the Saturday, and that was just before the playoff semi-final. So serious lot of miles, and players having to work the day after as well, getting in at 4 a.m.
So you was, in a way, was more than happy to see Truro get out of it then, yeah?
Oh,
we'll come to that later. But it's funny because another side quite local to us that I used to work for in Averley. I've just seen their fixtures come out in the Vanarama South, and their last 2 away games are Truro City and Western-super-Mare. So that's their last 2. That's their last 2 away games. It's just horrific. But
yeah.
How do you cope with that? So you go into that league, and when you've got those sort of long travels, I mean, Truro made it a little bit easier for everybody because they moved up to Plymouth. But I mean,
Yeah.
how difficult is that to get, as you say, to get those sort of players to travel that distance? Okay, this year you probably only got Plymouth to worry about, but I suppose you're probably hoping from first game of the season away, and you ain't got to worry about the travel in the winter.
Oh, with us, we're like in terms of our coach, and there's a lot of things that people don't realise that actually cost in the league. So you've got to factor in how many times you're going to ask the players to drive to games. You've got to factor in coaching costs around that. And I think this season we've budgeted for potentially 5 coach trips, and they're Plymouth Parkway, Merthyr Tydfil, Dorchester Town, maybe Poole Town as well. And I'm just trying to think of the last one, but I can't remember it. But 4 there off the top of my head. You'll probably need a coach for because they're over 2 hours. But we're quite blessed this year that the Southern League has got a lot of teams in and around the London area. And I think 10 are within 1 hour of us. So that's that's a bonus for us this year in cost of travel.
So you get up and go into that league. So was last year your second year in the Southern League, or was that your first year in the Southern League?
That was our first year in the Southern League, since I think about 2007, which is when we got relegated down to Step 5.
To tell us a little bit, so a bit about yourself and the family. So is it a family-run club then?
Yes,
Town?
yeah. So we're a family-run club here at Bracknell. My dad's been involved personally for the last 10 years, and my granddad before that, and my great aunt and uncle June were running the club back in the 80s and the 70s. It fell out of our family circle in sort of the 90s and early O's, but then obviously back in the since 2010, it's been back part of our family again. So yeah, it's a massive family aspect to it, and all the players we've got involved with us as well, know that's our ethos. We love to, it's a massive family here, and that's what we do. So my dad is chairman of the group, which owns the club, the SB Group, and we've got an academy here as well, which is domestic and international from 16 to 19 years old. And we also run Sandhurst Town Football Club as well. So a club that operates at Step 5 of the football pyramid. So yeah, it's very, very family run. My brother works as like head groundsman down at the club. My mum was, when we was at our old large lane ground, she was behind cooking burgers. I was running the site, and my dad was being chairman and also secretary for a little while. And that's just how we've done it for the last 10 years, really.
And I mean, we said as well before we started, because new 3G service going down. Is the new 3G? Because I've seen out there now that because some of the brand newer 3Gs now are no longer going to have any infill to them altogether. I mean, is yours going to have infill, or
ours has got? I went down to the ground earlier to kind of look at the progress that was going on, and amazed at how quick once they get it there, they lay it very quickly. And it's a little bit shorter than what we had previously. And it's like a sand. It's like a material, but it feels like sand, but it isn't. It's like a cork infill, is what it is. And it stops that abrasion you get on the skin when you were to dive on the older ones. So I'm sure people might have a few grazes, etc., but on a dry day, but it's amazing surface. I went out there today, and it's a lot softer for players. Where they've previously had the ones that are quite tough on the joints.
So is that all finished now, or is it something that's good?
So that's because of a few delays at the ports coming across, and they need to reloading it. It's probably 3 or 4 days behind schedule, but we're still anticipating to get it done and finished by next week. That might be the weekend, but we've just had a pre-season friendly arranged for the 25th of July. So all fingers crossed that it'll be done well before then, and the players can get a few sessions and games on there before the start of the year.
So, I mean, we said you sort of like, we laughed and joked before, and that your Twitter bio is not big enough for the amount of roles you do in the club.
Yeah.
In that sort of side of it, I mean, don't fancy taking up the manager's role?
No. Leave that to the professionals. They know what they're doing. Talking of that, I mean, my cousin is Jamie McClurg. He's actually the first team manager. And Carl Withers and Lee Riddell also managing alongside. But yeah, Dodsey, we call him, has been involved with the club, won us from promotion from step 5 to step 4, and then went away to start management at Binfield locally, and then luckily we managed to get the team to us this season, and it's been amazing what journey they've taken us on, from the FA Cup first round against Ipswich to the playoff final against Truro. And the highs and the lows of the football is why you love it so much.
Give me 2 seconds because the dog's having a tizzy fit. 2 seconds. So we were saying that, at the pitch. So the pitch then going the right way. What about sort of friendlies? I know you're coming down sort of my way in a couple of weeks, and coming down to play sort of Enfield Town. But I mean, what was the plan sort of going into last season? I mean, first time into the Southern League, it was all a bit new for you. Maybe teams didn't really know much about Bracknell Town. Some of them might not have done the homework. I looked at it at the beginning of the season and thought probably you might be one of the favourites to go straight up and into the Panorama South. But
yeah,
you had a bit of bad luck, shall we say, at the end of the season. And I was watching your goals go in every week on the goal show, and incredible. But 100 goals scored, top goal scorers in all 4 divisions of the Southern League, and must have been a bit of a kick in the teeth not to be playing Panorama football right now, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's a bit of a kick in the teeth, and I think going back to last season, if you'd ask our fans, what they'd have wanted from the season, I think they'd have wanted a solid season where we stay at that level. At the start of the season, they snapped your hand off if we even fought at getting the playoffs, let alone the position we finished in. And if you threw the FA Cup in there as well, it was another bonus. But the Ipswich game, the management came in just as our FA Cup run started, and the wins that they had, and to get us to Ipswich was such a massive achievement for the club. And then to carry that on with the backlog of games that they had, and the amount of times we got it called off because our pitch just couldn't cope with the demands of the weather, was just astonishing, really. And hats off to them for doing what they did, and the squad as well, and all of the volunteers we had behind the scenes, getting the games on, doing the maintenance around the pitches, getting to games, etc. I mean, the list could go on, but I mean, just on this season, we have to try and do one better, I suppose, and get to the National League South, really. But the squad and the management, the team they're building, is great.
I mean, I look at that league. I mean, you know most of those sort of teams in there. The sort of the big hitter in Moses Emmanuel as well has gone. He's gone off to Billericay as well. So that's another sort of big plan. But how many players have you kept or hoping to keep, shall we say? From this year.
So as co-chair and also the club secretary, I have the duty of registering them all to IFAS, and then obviously the Southern League and our local FA, county FA. But we've lost a few, but we expected to lose a few. The season we had, there was always going to be teams in the league above watching for our players. I think last year we lost Sebastian Bowerman to Dorking. We also lost this season, Dan Bayliss and Gary Abasogan to Slough Town, along with Mikel Platt, who, all the fantastic players that we wish, we could have kept, but unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, really, because they've made a step up to a higher level, and credit to them for that. They've worked really hard for it. We lost a few players to local side Farnham Town, who doing great bits of business this season, and they've got quite a few new lads down there, and I think they'll be at step 5. They've got some squad for step 5. We lost Jack Dean and Darryl to them, and also Guy Hollis. So we've lost. I think we've lost six players from our squad, but the players we've retained, are superb, and the players we're bringing in are also superb as well. The manager has done a great job in terms of recruitment for this season.
It's funny you mentioned Farnham. I was told the other day that they reckon that if they don't get each other in any of the rounds of the FA bars, the final was going to be Faversham Town versus Farnham at Wembley.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't know too much about Faversham. Where do you know whereabouts are they? Are they Kent
In
or?
Kent, yeah, and they
Yeah,
have
okay.
got they have spent some dosh down there, let me tell you, for a step
Yeah,
five side. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. I hear a lot about budgets and things like that. But to be honest, with you, I just think what Farnham's got going on down there is more than money. They've got a great they're sponsored. The bar sponsored by Brewdog. They've got a great social media presence. They record their games. They seem like they've got a fantastic setup down there. So why wouldn't you want to go play your football down there, regardless of money and budget and things like that? So I think credit to them what they're doing down there. We definitely are trying to replicate some of the things they're doing in terms of recording their games and also getting content out there, because that's the way of the world at the moment. Yeah, that's the way it's going.
So, I mean, from your own personal point of view, I mean, is it a joy to sort of, not saying what you do on a day-to-day basis, but is it sort of a joy once you finish your day-to-day basis just to get to that back into Bracknell Town?
Yeah, no, it is. I'm really fortunate. I've got a really understanding girlfriend. Um, with my roles at the football club now, and also my job, I'm an osteopath. So I work locally for a company, sort of 40 hours a week, and then probably doing an extra 20 at the football club, and then yeah, making up to my girlfriend with the rest of the time. But getting down to the club, it's it's amazing. It's nice to be involved. Got a great bunch of people down there, and every time I go down there, it's like I was 9 again. You
Yeah.
got the butterflies in your stomach every game.
So, I mean, with it though, I mean, does this year coming up, um, is your budget still okay because of going into that situation of getting the 3G surface laid? Does it still want
I,
to
I'm
feel
we
comfortable
we've
enough
in,
that you
we,
can win it?
yeah, so we've invested heavily into our 3G. I think the pitch has cost, how much they cost. I think it's about £500,000 to get that pitch put down. And the thought process behind it is, we can then bring all of our teams on there, which stops the external cost of 3G hire and other venue hire. But no, in terms of our budget, it's not taken too much of a hit really. I think since stepping in, you realise the cost of football and how much it costs to run a football club, and invoices coming in here, and here, and here, for sums of money. And yeah, it's stuff you wouldn't see as an outsider.
Yeah. I mean, with it all though, I mean, your sort of football journey's gone from there. How did you sort of get involved though? Where was that sort of turning point from you sort of going to the ground and just enjoying the football with watching your granddad's team and going with your granddad and that? When did it sort of change for you that all of a sudden you're getting that situation where people are saying to you, look, Louis, come down and be you know co-chairman or vice chairman or secretary?
Yeah.
When did all that sort of connection start?
So it started when in about 2014, I think. I always look at my iCloud photos, and I think I was when my dad took over, yeah, about 10 years ago, 2013. We had a little ride on tractor down at the football club, and I used to do all the maintenance on the pitch for my dad, just for a bit of extra pocket money at the time, because it was just him running things, and I was eager to get involved and earn a bit of extra money so I could go out on the weekends and things like that. And the one thing that I cast back in my memory is going onto the pitch that we had Large Lane. I don't know if you'd ever been to the old ground, and it went onto a big slope in the corner. And if it rained, when it poured, it sat and it turned up, and I got stuck out there on the mower. And that was when I first got involved. That was when I first got involved in 2013. And then how that led into that was when I was at school. And then when I turned 18, I left college and got involved on a full-time basis running the site for my dad, doing the day-to-day things, the Costco trips, and did that for a year, and then thought I want to get some qualifications, and I got back into school and studied to be an osteopath, which has just taken me 4 years, and I've been working for the last year. And since being back from uni, I wanted to get a lot more hands-on involved in the club and help my dad take it to the next level, really. So that's how I've got involved. And then subsequently in the last 9 months since we played Ipswich. Unfortunately, my mum was diagnosed with breast cancer in back in the last year, and I think my dad's personally just taken a step back away from things to spend a bit more time with her. So I've made the step in to run things, and as you said about my Twitter bio, take on a few more roles. So I've got a little bit more word count in there, so I'm sure I can take on a few more.
I mean, is it something that by looks of things, I know you really enjoyed, that sort of challenge as well. But I mean, talk to us a little bit about the other people involved in the club as well.
So at this moment in time, we've got a international academy and a domestic academy, which sits under the SB group as on a day-to-day basis. So we have our operations at Larges Lane, where the old ground was. We're now at Bottom Meadow with Sandhurst. So what we do is we are under 16s to 19s train daily and go to a school around the corner and do their qualifications. And that's made up of the managing director, Liam Parrington, our head coach, Jordan Ive, who's also the Sandhurst town manager. And he just won them promotion from step 6 to step 5 with an absolute hell of a run in. I think we had like 6 games in 1 week, and we ended up getting 16 points out of it. And I say we because I played in goal for about 8 games last season for them. So it's quite a small team, but we've got the management. We've got a few people behind the scenes. My brother does the ground maintenance. We've got bar staff there. My dad, which is the head of the company, me, which sits below him, who's also club secretary, the management, the physios, and the goalkeeping staff, and obviously the players. So it is quite a small team, really.
Last year, of course, you had that great FA Cup run, and what was that like when you're going into it thinking, right, it's the FA Cup, because most people go into it thinking, well, it's all about the money, shall we say, with the FA Cup. And then, but after a while, hang on a minute, we've beaten these and we've beaten these.
Yeah.
Hang on a minute, and now we're going to Ipswich. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, I think the game before we drew Banbury at home, and we thought out of all the draws that we could have got, we was like, this is a great draw. There, they started fantastically in the Conference North. I think they were second when we played them, and we ended up just kind of holding on for a bit of dear life, really, towards the end. But we caught them off guard. We scored an early goal. I think we scored another goal from a corner after that, and then they got one back, and we held on. And when the full-time whistle went, it's like you're through to the first round proper, which the club hasn't done since 2001, I think. And then to draw Ipswich, it's like they're a Premier League club, years ago, and now they're in the Championship, having just won promotion from League One. It was kind of one of those moments you just think will never happen, and when it does,
I can confirm it was season 2000, 2001 because it's literally over your right shoulder, so I could sit up there. But talk us through talk us through that day of going down to Portman Road. Talk us through the whole day and waking up, and what was it like?
Oh no, we played them at home.
Oh, sorry, at home. Sorry, yeah. What was that like?
So I actually had work that day. I had work. I was meant to be working at 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. But I told my boss that unfortunately I won't be working till 8 p.m. tonight. So it got to sort of 1:30, and I left work. The East Hampstead Park, which is one of the local hotels, they put us up for the evening, sponsored the event, and we went down there. We had pre-match dinner there. Checked into the hotel and had a pre-match walk. We were then picked up by coaches to go to the ground because you couldn't park around that area that night. I mean, we had thousands of people coming down to watch us, and get into the ground and seeing how it was set up and the setup involved. For television, you've got to have these huge floodlights on top of our floodlights for the quality on the television, and all of the sound engineers and television engineers that are setting up with their massive motorhomes, and it's so surreal to see the club. I see it on a day-to-day basis, and it's never really anyone there. on a day-to-day basis. But to see so many people there and, you know, so many people caring, you know, about the event, it's so nice to see.
Hmm. I mean, what was it? I mean, so you know, you leave work at sort of 1:30. What was it sort of like then when when you're sort of making your way down? How was the nerves?
I even now, like just to have a chance to play Ipswich, like at that time, and the nerves were flowing. You know, I was watching the game with my girlfriend, my boss, and one of my colleagues, and just I couldn't stand still. You know, I was just like pacing around the ground. I was just so nervous before the game, and I think we went in at 0-0 at half time, and thought we had a few chances. You know, we can really kick on. I was so nervous. So nervous the whole game. I can't really put it into words.
So, I mean, 0-0 at half time. I mean, you know, the sort of went into the second half. And what happened in the second half?
I think the class just shone through. I mean, our boys come in at half time having they left their hearts and souls out on the pitch, and really blowing. And I think when you get into the professional leagues, the fitness shows. I mean, and it's not even necessarily the fitness, because our boys, you know, they train regularly and they're fit lads. You know, they run around every week, but the sequences of play, you know, making you chase the ball for 45 minutes, that wears you down. And then I mean, I think we had a chance to go 1-0 and just kind of put it over the bar, and then straight up the other end, counter attack, goal. But we still kept trying, and unfortunately, the patterns of play that they were playing and the tired legs began to show, and they ended up winning 3-0. But I mean, credit to them. And Richard Keogh, after the game, came into our boys' changing room and like said a few words, and had more than enough time for everyone. And they were very professional. And Kieran McKenna, the manager, you know, spoke to our managers as well. So it was such a lovely end to our run, and what a team to lose to, I suppose.
I mean, with that, I mean, do you get that? Do you sort of then forge relationships with Ipswich, and are they maybe pre-season friendlies or stuff like that, or they're not interested?
Yeah, so Ipswich fans that came, I think we only allocated them. I think there was a 300 ticket allocation, which is 10% or less than 10%. I mean, might have been less, but they the fans still, you know, they comment on our Twitter, and they still email us, and there's a bit of a kind of a bond between the two clubs now, I guess. But that's not materialized into pre-season friendlies as such at this moment in time. But I'm sure, you know, if we reach out early enough next season, I'm sure we could possibly arrange something earlier, I suppose, as opposed to later for them.
So, what are you expecting from this current season? I mean, have you been informed of when the fixtures are going to be released? And it's going to be sometime next week.
Well, I think they put it to us that the fixtures will come out 2 weeks before the start of the season, and that was left might come out 2 weeks before the start of the season. But I guess as the fixtures trickle down from the National League, I know they was released. Was it yesterday?
Yeah.
And then I guess they'll be formulating that now, and then it will go down to steps 4, steps 5, and step 6. So I think they'll get them out on time, but hopefully, you know, fingers crossed for Plymouth early doors.
So where was it you played them last year? Where was it?
We played Plymouth at home in, I think, November or December, and we played them away in April on last game of the season. But then we also played Truro there 4 days before that, because it got called off 3 times. The players had, you know, it got called off 3 times, and on the day, like day before, it got called off, and players obviously already ready to go, and it got called off. But luckily, it got called off when they're at the club, as opposed to going all the way down to Truro. So,
with the FA Cup game, now, how did that affect your your league running from there type thing? Did it affect you for a little bit of time?
Yeah, so because of the FA Cup run, meaning our FA Cup run and our FA Trophy run, because we ended up playing Altrincham in the 5th round of that. So we ended up backlog of games, and then that wicked January came about where no one really played in December or January. And then on top of that, Sandhurst Town also used the same pitch as us. So we both play at the same ground. And that's subsequent why the 3G is going down, because through December to January, we didn't really play. I mean, we might have got 1 or 2 fixtures in between that. But I think we had I think with Bucks and Bucks, we're not getting to the final, winning that. So we had about, I think we got to a stage where we had about 18 games to play in about a 40-day window. Cup games, league games, to get it complete. And there was one incident where we played Saturday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday that week, and it was just players dropping like flies of injuries. But because of the runs and the pitch, it killed us a little bit. But I don't think that, the final against Truro wasn't tired legs because they had enough time to recover. So,
what was that like though? Going into that game against Truro, down at Truro, and
penalty. Yeah, so down at Truro, Plymouth, and then we played them at home.
Right.
So we played them at home, and they are well and truly suited and booted to play away. They've got a nice coach that brings them up, and they must have it planned out very specifically. But they came to us previously, and they beat us 3-0. And then we didn't actually, we didn't beat them. They played us 3 times that season and beat us every time. But like the final was, I really genuinely thought, even though we lost them twice, that we could beat them. And I think that's how football is. Like a last minute winner, it's great if it's on your team, but it absolutely sucks if it's against you.
Was that more nervous? So there's, I suppose, one of the final questions for you. More nervous for FA Cup against Ipswich, or more nervous playing Truro in the playoff final?
More nervous against Truro.
Yeah.
I think they're both massive achievements, but an FA Cup against Ipswich, you're not there's if you get through it, is something really, really special. And Truro, it's like we lost them twice, and to play them in the final, just to go up to step 2, which would be the first time in the club's history. It was so many nerves around it, and it's still it took a little while to hit home that, but I think that well and truly over it and into pre-season now for this year.
But what about this season coming in? I mean, what's the goals? I mean, is the goals again? You say you've lost a few, you're getting a few in. So, will the goals that you might have in your head and your dad might have in your head, with the manager, and say, look, we want you to, promotion or whatever else it may be? Will that differ before and after sort of? The actual friendlies have been played? Because you as you said, we laughed and joked before we came on air. You never know if any of these players are actually going to stay with you until you get to the first game. So do you actually sort of, the plan for Bracknell, is it right? Okay, we want to get to step 2 this year. This is the aim, or is it a playoffs position again? I mean, what is the aim going into the season?
Well, I mean, already the managers. They are there. I think any manager wants to get promoted, wants to win the league, and I think that's the same with our management now. I mean, as a club, we want to get promoted. We want to do one better than last year in the league, and all the players and all the fans, all the fans and all the management want the same. So I think that's our goals ahead of this season. And in terms of the FA Cup, I mean, it'd be great. It'd be great to reach the first round proper again. I don't know what round we come in at as a step 3 club. Do you know what round we come in as?
Not off the top of me, because it'd be the same as Enfield, but I'm not 100% sure. I mean, it might be saying like the sort of
second qualifying.
Yeah, second qualifying round. So like, funny enough, the actual, just as you said that, Ollie Bayliss has just tweeted that the FA Cup, the FA Trophy, and the FA Vase and the FA Youth Cup draws will be made for the first 2 rounds tomorrow. So we're recording this, on this, what are we, the 6th today, are we? 6th of July, 7th of July. So by the time this goes out next week, you will know roughly who, step 4 sides at least, who you got in the FA Cup. So, yes, that was quite interesting.
Yeah, hopefully, I mean, we've never ever, we don't usually ever have a kind draw in the FA Cup. I mean, we've always drawn teams much higher than us. So now being a step 3 club, we hopefully draw teams in and around us, so we can keep going on that run. I mean, it's always difficult to get a team, so some absolute giants in the Conference South this year. So you'd hate to draw them, say, in the 3rd qualifying round.
Well, we'll have another conversation on my Monday night show when you get drawn away to Mousehole in the 1st round. Yeah.
Well, they're lovely people, but if Truro can draw them or so,
Did you actually share a table with them? Did you share?
No. I shared a table with Biggleswade FC, and also it was Colville. Yeah, Colville. Colville Town. And it was just coincidental that Colville got to the first round. I think it'd be Notts County and Chesterfield. We got to the first round. We both lost in the playoffs and both come second. And Biggleswade also come second and lost in the playoffs as well. So
yeah. They did that on purpose.
Tactical placement from the Southern League.
It was what they called the suicide table, was it? Yeah.
all of the teams, we kind of like, oh yeah, you come second, you come second, you and we no one ended up going up, but we all had a laugh and a joke about it, because I suppose that's all you can do, really.
Oh, Louis, it's been a fantastic having a chat with you. It really has, and we do wish Bracknell all the very, very best, of course, for the coming season as well. We'll be keeping a close eye, of course, as well, with the goal show, with all your goals coming into the goal show as well. So that'll be interesting. So we'll see plenty of them this year. But a massive thank you for joining us. We'll be back in the coming weeks. We've got a few more lined up for you. We're hoping to bring to you sort of the Cray Wanderers manager from the Eastern League as well. So Neil Smith. We're trying to get Neil and a load of others as well. So there's a few more coming your way in the coming weeks, until we're back, of course, with the brand new season of football, which will, of course, will mean no more My Life in Football. We'll be back to that amazing goal show. So hopefully everybody will sit and watch that. But from me and from Louis, good night.